Duke Eclipse presents the Horror Hideout Podcast, a podcast covering everything horror, including books, comics, and movies. Presented by Dawson Duke and Kayla Bullock.
Welcome back to Horror Hideout during our serial killer month. And what?
Just serial killer month.
Well, today we're doing Se7en from 1995.
I think that's what I said.
Yeah.
Because you were 2 years off.
Yes.
It stars Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman.
Yeah. And
except for when Dawson and I started talking about this, I said it was Morgan Wallen.
One thing I will say about this movie is there's some movies you watch from like the 90s or the 80s and they already feel pretty dated. This movie though, like, you could have told me it was shot in like 2010 and I would have believed you.
Yeah.
Like, the photography in this is just beautiful, the cinematography and everything, and it still holds up, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. And it's very
Atmospheric.
film noir kind of.
Yeah.
It's not black and white like you usually think of with noir, but it's very like that's if I was going to describe it, that would be what I would say.
Yeah, and that's what it is. I think it's been described that way by a lot of people.
Well, fine.
Well, I'm not. But the spoiler-free review, it follows a younger detective played by Brad Pitt that's like kind of just come to the big city to be a cop, and he gets partnered with like a older grizzled detective that's played by Morgan Freeman, and that's really, I mean, they're investigating a series of homicides, and that's
I don't think at first they realize that it's like the same killer.
No, but
So,
that's all I'm gonna say for spoiler free.
Yeah.
Because
It is a very good movie, though.
it's a lot better than it sounds. It's a lot more complex than it sounds. Because when I say it like that, that sounds very stereotypical of, oh, there's the new rookie cop and the older grizzled cop, and like
But
you've seen that
but
many
he's not
times.
really like he's not. I mean, he works with Morgan Freeman, but he's actually, and we'll say Wallen again. He's actually kind of taken his place because he's getting ready to retire.
Yeah. Yeah, Brad Pitt is kind of like his successor.
Yeah. So there are two main players.
So are we getting into spoilers?
Yeah.
Okay. Good.
So we start out and we see William Freeman's character is William Freeman. Oh my gosh.
Morgan Freeman.
Freeman's character is William Somerset.
Yes.
And we see him and he's investigating a murder.
Yes.
And so to me, and this may just be me, but kind of, their city kind of reminded me of Gotham. Like.
Yes. And people have said that. And the city is never named. But this movie was actually shot in Los Angeles.
Oh, I didn't know that.
But it took a lot of heavy inspiration from New York because the guy that wrote this movie was living in New York at the time. But it's purposely left ambiguous. You're not supposed to know what city it is.
But did you get kind of Gotham?
There are theories online that this unnamed city in that movie is Gotham.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like, I don't think that was actually the intention.
Yeah.
But it makes a lot of sense. Like, if you know about Gotham, like Gotham, it's always supposed to be raining and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so, one thing I did want to mention is one of the big atmosphere things in this movie is it is almost always raining except for like the last scene.
Yeah.
And
it's not just like it's always gloomy rain too. It's not like
that was not the original intention. The day they shot the first crime scene, it was raining. So to keep continuity, they got rain towers and made it rain again.
Really?
And then it just kind of turned into the whole movie. Like, the director was kind of like, well, why don't we just have it rain the whole time?
Huh.
And so they made it rain the whole time. Up until, like, that last scene. And I think it fits the atmosphere of the movie so well. And they even, like, wrote it into, like, some of the dialogue and stuff.
Yeah.
Because I think Brad Pitt says something like, I've been here 5 days and it hasn't stopped raining.
Yeah. So, the first murder he's investigating is not tied to the rest of the show, the rest of the movie. It's just a murder.
Yeah.
But I think it kind of sets the atmosphere and all of that of what we're, and it's very like a rundown city, like apartment buildings and all kinds of stuff.
And Morgan Freeman just seems like he's ready to be out of there.
Yeah.
And there's actually, you can find it pretty easily. It's like a deleted scene, but the original introduction to the movie was actually going to be Morgan Freeman touring a house out in the country.
Aww.
And it's kind of like an old house that needs some work and stuff, so the wallpaper's peeling, and he takes a piece of the wallpaper off the wall. And he, like, folds that up into, like, his handkerchief. So later in the movie, whenever he's picking up all his stuff to get ready for his day, you actually see, like, that wallpaper sitting on his handkerchief, and that's why it's there.
Huh.
But he was going to retire to that house.
Why didn't they keep that in there?
Because they were going to have that. I don't really know why entirely it was cut, but they were going to have that, and then that was going to, the opening credits was going to be him riding the train back to the city from, like, out in the country. Well, they had already spent, like, their entire budget, and so they couldn't do that for the opening credits, so I think that's why they got rid of that scene at the beginning. But so instead,
cool,
for the opening credits, they did some of the most, like, iconic opening credits of all time, where it's showing over the notebooks that the serial killer that's the antagonist of the movie wrote. And those actually were, like, handwritten by two guys, and they were paid like $15,000 to just sit there and write all those notebooks out. And they said that they would go down the street to this place where you could print photos. I don't remember the name of it, but they were going there and printing all these, like, gross photos of, like, anatomy and, like, pigs being butchered and stuff. And, like, the teenagers in there were always really freaked out whenever they were in there printing those photos out.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I don't think I'd deal well with that either.
But in the movie, they say there's, like, over... In the movie, they say that he wrote over 2,000 notebooks, but in reality, they did not write that many, but they wrote a lot. And they were only originally going to be in that one scene. So it's good they did it in the opening credits to show us some of the stuff.
Did you pause it and see if you could read anything that was in the notebooks?
Not really. I will say, though, if you do read the Se7en graphic novel, there's some pages from the journals in it. But I do not recommend the graphic novel. And I'll get more into that once we finish the movie. But
so then we meet Brad Pitt's character.
Yes.
And he is like Austin said, just kind of a young, not yuppie, but like a young, I don't know, what's the word, like unseasoned cop who's, you know. Yeah. And they even have a conversation about why he wanted to come to the big city.
Yeah.
And,
wet behind the ears, is that what they call it?
Yeah, kinda. Yeah, I guess that'd probably be the best. But there's a scene later on where, because obviously Morgan Freeman is retiring, and Brad Pitt goes into his new office, and Morgan Freeman's sitting at his desk, and he, like, gets up all of his stuff and moves to the other side with it. And I'm like, that's so sad. Like, let the old guy have his desk till he retires.
Well, I think he offers it to him.
I don't know.
Because I think in the scene you're talking about, he's in there working at the desk, and then Morgan Freeman comes in, and Brad Pitt offers the desk, and Morgan Freeman is like, "No, it's yours now," and then kind of sits in a chair.
The scene with his office.
Yeah, but back to, like, the murders. Is the first scene that they go to? Is it the
Gluttony's first?
That's what I thought. So another fun fact about this, and I can't remember the guy's name, but there's a guy that the video's called something like Se7en, but I over explain it or something like that. But it's a really good video, and I like it a lot, so I'm going to put a link to it in the description. But he talks about in there how, what was I even talking about? Gluttony. He talks about how whenever they were working on the movie, they had that set made, the Gluttony set, and the way they made it so grody is they actually made it that grody. So, like, they spilled, like, actual, like, ravioli on the floor and stuff that was, like, rotting, and they had it, you know, they always have the sets off the ground, so you can, like, get under it if you need to and stuff like that. So they have it up on a thing where it's, like, a little bit off the ground, and there's trash bags stuffed all around the corners to keep the cockroaches from escaping. And so a, like, producer or someone big from the company comes down to see, like, to make sure they're actually like shooting the movie and they're not just messing around. And he comes in and they've got that extra guy in there and he puts his head down in the bowl of spaghetti and he's got like a tube right here so he can breathe. But he's got like all that makeup on him and stuff, and the producer came down and basically took one look and was like, "You're good," and left. But they said it smelled like a dead guy, like it actually smelled like there was a dead guy rotting in there from like the food and stuff they left out. And another thing that I think it was the director said is that the crime scenes are set up in a way where John Doe is an artist. Like, he's... Like, the murders are his canvas.
So John Doe's our murderer.
Yeah. I think I said that earlier, that he's like this.
I didn't know if we ever said his name or not.
And he's played by Kevin Spacey. And Kevin Spacey was a big actor at the time. And...
That was Kevin Spacey?
Mm-hmm. The funny thing about it is, he's not on any of the posters, he has no billing on it. But he is the first person credited in the credits. And that was a negotiation with the studio, because it was actually Kevin Spacey's idea when he was cast, because he's only in the movie near the very end for like 20 minutes. And when he was cast, he was like, why? He's like, I want to opt out of having my face on the movie everywhere so people don't... Because he was always in movies where he played a character that was deeper than it seemed and it always had twists. And so he didn't want people going to the movie being like, oh, there's going to be some kind of twist, and like figuring out that he played the killer because he's not in so much of the movie. And so he denied billing on the movie and stuff. So he's not in any of the posters or any of the promotional material or anything. And so the studio's like, we're paying $1 million for this guy to be in this movie, and you don't want us to show that he's in the movie. And so the negotiation is he's the first person credited in the credits. So the very first thing you see when the credits starts rolling is Kevin Spacey as John Doe.
Huh. That's interesting. I told you when we were talking about it the other day that he reminds me a lot of, which I guess it would be the other way around, but because this movie's older, but his character in this reminds me a lot of James McAvoy's character.
Yes.
Is it Dennis?
I think so.
It's not Dennis.
Is it not?
Is it one of the characters in Split?
Yes.
One of his personalities.
That's like
Dennis
cold and calculating.
Yeah, the tough guy.
Yeah.
Is that Dennis?
I think so.
Okay. So he reminds me very much of him. Like, just the mannerisms and everything.
Well, in the Batman, the Robert Pattinson one, was heavily influenced by this movie. And you can tell by, like, the cinematography and it's, like, always raining and stuff and that kind of stuff. But also...
I've never seen that Batman, so...
It's really good. But also, the Riddler in it is... very, very similar to John Doe. Because when I had seen the Batman, I had not seen Se7en. But now having seen Se7en, the Riddler was heavily influenced by John Doe. And I like that a lot. And I'm not saying like it's copied exactly, because he is different, but you can see where the inspiration is. But I love that Batman movie. That's probably the best Batman movie.
With Robert Pattinson?
Mm-hmm.
Didn't Jensen Ackles play Batman at one point?
Yeah, he voices him in Batman The Long Halloween, Part 1 and 2.
So it's not a live one.
No. He also, originally, before he did that, though, he voiced Red Hood in Batman Under the Red Hood, the animated movie. And in that, he drives a 1967 Chevy Impala as a reference to Supernatural.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
But, back to the actual movie that we're talking about.
So, they get to, obviously it's an apartment, and I feel like we learned that the landlord checked on him because he hadn't paid rent.
I think so.
And they talk about how he was always good about paying rent.
Yeah. The apartment is filthy.
It's disgusting.
Yeah.
And so we see our victim. He is at the dining room table. I think he's naked. Or pretty close to it.
Yeah. I think he might be in his, like, skivvies, like in his underwear.
Face down in a plate of spaghetti.
Is it his plate of spaghetti or is it SpaghettiOs? I think it's SpaghettiOs.
A plate of pasta.
Yeah.
And you can tell he's been dead for a while.
Yeah. He's like blue.
Yeah. And he is a very, very, very overweight, heavy-set, big guy.
And written on the wall is gluttony. And I'm not sure if it's supposed to be that it was written in pasta sauce.
I haven't found it yet.
They do here, don't they?
No, they don't. Because it bugged me that they didn't look better in the apartment.
Okay. So is this the one where it's behind the fridge?
Uh-huh.
Okay. So they don't see that yet.
No.
But I don't know if... All I was going to say, I don't know if it's supposed to be that it was written in pasta sauce or blood.
Oh, I never thought. I assumed blood.
Yeah.
But so they're in the apartment. They're looking around, and Brad Pitt's character. I wish we could remember his name. Goes under the table, and he's like, "Oh, there's a bucket down here," and he sticks his head in it, and it's a bucket of vomit.
Yeah.
So it almost makes him sick because he stuck his head in a bucket of vomit.
And I'm gonna bring up Brad Pitt's ties here.
Go ahead.
So, I think most of the movie he's wearing one that has basketballs on it. And then during, like, there's a scene in a bar, and that one he's wearing one that has...
Mills.
Yeah.
David Mills.
That one he's wearing one that has, like, footballs on it, and then there's a scene where he's wearing one that has, like, a giant bass on it. That might be, like, at the end. But, those ties were actually an idea from Brad Pitt, and I think it's so cool because I've heard a lot of stories about productions of movies, and there's some, like, directors and stuff where they have a vision and they're not deviating from that vision no matter what anyone else says. And this movie just sounds like it was such a collaborative effort between everyone. Like, people made suggestions and the director was like, yeah, that's a good idea. And the thing about it, this director, I don't remember his name, but he's like he's a very good director. He's influential. He's done a lot of good movies. But before this, the only movie he had done was Alien 3. And he said something along the lines of, doing that movie was like having an enema with razor blades.
David Fincher.
Yes. And he said he would rather have colon cancer than direct a movie again after he directed Alien 3.
Jeez.
But, the issue he had with that movie is it was the studio hired him. He had only done music videos before. Hired him as a puppet so that they could have what they want made. They literally hired a guy where he would come on set like Kevin, or what's his name? I almost said Kevin Spacey. What's the director's name?
David Fincher.
David Fincher would come on set and tell the actors what to do. And there was this guy that the studio had hired to follow him around, and the guy would go in here and he'd say, follow those directions, but don't follow this specific part.
Jeez.
And so then, like, so he kind of did not really want to do a movie again until the script came across his desk. And I'll talk about that more once we're over the movie, because I don't want to...
Has he directed more?
Yes, he's directed a lot of stuff.
Like anything I would know?
Yes. I cannot tell you what off the top of my head, but he's directed a lot of, like, well-known movies.
I'll look it up when you're talking about the end stuff later.
Well, you can talk now while I look.
So, at this point, they also figure out that our victim has his hands and feet tied with barbed wire. And then I think we cut to...
Like, after they're waiting for the coroner, right?
Yeah, but then I think after that we cut to the coroner, like the autopsy, right?
Yeah.
And they find out that basically this guy ate himself to death.
Yeah. He was eating until he threw up, and he kept eating, and, like, it distended his stomach. Is that the right term?
Made his stomach explode.
Yeah. So that's what he died from.
Yeah, I mean, he seriously ate himself to death. So, throughout, like, and I know we're not going in specific order of the movie, but so when he's at this is why I said they didn't see gluttony yet. When they're at the
next
autopsy, they find he gives him this little sliver of something in a plastic container, and he tells him this was fed to him. And so later on, once they figure out they've got a serial killer, he goes back and he finds scratches in the floor where the fridge has been moved, and it matches that little strip of flooring that the guy had been forced to eat, and he pulls the fridge out, and that's where it says gluttony.
Yes.
Which, like I said, that's kind of happens throughout the movie, but this is one that kind of makes sense to talk about each person.
So David, he directed Gone Girl, Girl with the Dragon Tattoo,
I haven't
Zodiac,
seen or read the books.
He directed Fight Club.
No way, did he really?
Mm-hmm. A bunch of music videos. He directed one of Michael Jackson's music videos. Yeah, Alien 3. Just trying to see if there's... He's done a lot of TV shows, too. But anyway, yeah, so he's directed a lot of different things.
Yeah. I'm surprised. I'm impressed. That's a pretty good resume of movies.
Yeah.
Other than Alien 3.
he disowned that movie, and he's not been on any commentary tracks for it ever. He will not talk about it in interviews. Like, he does not consider that a movie he directed.
Really?
Yeah.
What's the one, Bill Murray's comment about Garfield is what makes me think of.
I was thinking Stephen King, the way he hates The Shining, the movie. Kubrick's Shining.
I don't think that's one that could have made it. There's so much psychological stuff that you can't get in the movie that they do in the book. But that's not what we're talking about.
Well, I was going to say I agree, because I feel there's too much that goes on in heads, in people's minds.
Yeah.
I don't know, they did it with Coraline. Most of Coraline takes place in her head in the book. That's why Wybe's in the movie. He's not a book character. It's because...
Yeah, I don't know. I just think that The Shining, there's so much to it. Like, they did a good job with Coraline. But it's also animated, so they could do a little bit more.
Well, Stephen King, he directed, or wrote, or whatever, produced, or whatever, the, like, Shining miniseries. Which I haven't seen.
I didn't know there was one.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go back to 7, because this is going to be a long episode anyway. So
what's
talked about gluttony.
What's the second murder? I remember the murders, but I don't remember in what order they happen.
Great.
Which, is that the lawyer?
Yeah, a defense attorney.
So he's dead in his office.
Yes. He had to cut out a pound of his own flesh.
Which is a reference to a Shakespeare play, which I can't remember which one it was. But the thing about if you cut out a pound of flesh off yourself, it doesn't matter where on your body it's at, you will bleed out. So he gave him an impossible task.
I didn't know that.
So I don't know.
So he's a defense attorney, so basically he's defending the bad people in town, and he's greedy and doing it for money is the way he looks at it. So
but what I was gonna say, when do we get the library scene? Do you remember?
The first library scene?
Where
he goes by himself?
Where, like,
William
Morgan Freeman? Yeah.
It has to be at least after this kill, because we have at least 2 kills.
I know. I was just asking when that happens, because I want to talk about it.
I can't remember. Well, let's talk about this, finish talking about this kill, and then you can talk about the library. So, they actually end up going to interview his wife, and they're like, hey, you notice anything different in his office? You know, anything been missing, anything? And she's like, that painting's upside down.
Yeah.
So they go back, and they cut the back off the painting. So they cut the back off the painting, and in fingerprints, it's written, help me.
Yes.
And so they run the DNA on those fingerprints, and that takes them to their next victim.
Who, was he a drug dealer?
Mm-hmm.
So he's in the criminal database.
Mm-hmm.
So they go into the room, and he seems to be dead on the bed. And he looks skeletal almost, like... you've seen, like, pictures of, like, starving kids in Africa and stuff, and that's kind of what it puts you in the mind of.
Except for not with the distended belly. Like, he is skin and bones, and...
Yeah.
He's tied to the bed, and like you said, they think he's dead.
Yeah. And then, as one of the cops is checking, like, I don't know what he's looking for on him, but he's leaned down close to him, and the guy, like, gasps.
Yeah.
And he's still alive.
That would have been scary.
And so basically they find out he's been drugged and in that bed, and someone has been feeding him and giving him water and stuff, just barely enough to keep him alive for a full year.
Yeah.
So whoever this serial killer is had planned this out from the beginning.
And then something we didn't mention about our gluttony guy, which I think this comes up later, but they actually talk about he ran out of SpaghettiOs and had to go buy more.
Yeah,
and so they find 2 receipts for it. So he had to leave.
I think it was like 3 days straight or something.
Yeah, like he had to leave in the middle of torturing this guy to go buy more food to feed him.
Yeah.
So it's there's so much to this movie.
Yes.
So now you can talk about the Morgan Freeman library scene, because I think this is such a cool scene.
So, and one thing I want to point out, it really shows you the dichotomy between these two characters. Because Morgan Freeman, we see him he goes into the library and he pulls, like, Dante's Inferno and Paradise Lost and I don't remember all what he pulls, but, you know, a bunch of books like that off the shelf. And we see him reading those. And it's like a 4-minute scene of him just walking through the library and going and getting. And I don't remember if it was the director or the guy who wrote the movie or what, but someone said if they made this movie now, this would be the first scene that the studio wanted cut. And he's not wrong.
I thought it was cool that he walks in and there's like 4 or 5 security guards and they're sitting there playing cards.
Yeah.
Because I think it's after hours. I think the library's closed.
Yeah.
And he says something about, I can't believe you guys sit around playing cards with all this knowledge at your whatever. And they're just like, they just kind of blow him off. And I just thought that was really cool.
Well, but then we see Mills. And instead of going to the library or anything, he gets the, like, Spark Notes. Cliff Notes, yeah. Spark Notes is a website that gives you Cliff Notes. But anyway, gets the Cliff Notes versions of all the same books that Morgan Freeman got from some guy. And so it kind of shows you, like, the difference between them.
And somewhere in here, and I don't know where at, we find out that Mills is married.
Yes.
And he has a wife, and she didn't really want to move to the big city.
No. And she's... Wait, no. I'm not going to say that yet. But they end up inviting Morgan Freeman over.
Yeah, that scene is so funny to me because it's when they're sitting in the office after the part I talked about with the desk, and he goes... He answers the phone, and it's his wife, and he's like, I told you not to call me at the office. And she says something, and he's kind of starting to argue with her, and he's like, fine, and hands the phone to Morgan.
Yeah.
He's like, she wants to talk to you. And it just, I don't know.
And she invites him over for dinner.
There's some cute scenes in here,
too.
For what it is, there's some scenes that kind of warm your heart a little bit.
So, Morgan Freeman ends up going over to their house for dinner at some point. And while he's there, they're kind of sitting around the table talking, and the whole apartment starts to shake.
Yeah.
And it's because the subway's going by.
Yeah, and they didn't know that when they rented the apartment. They talk about how...
Yeah, and
the
Mills...
realtor would only let him stay
I was going to say.
Okay.
I was going to say, Mills makes a comment that the realtor would only let them see it for 5 minutes at a time.
Yeah. So,
But, like, I mean, like, it's, like, rattling. Like, everything is rattling. Like, it's pretty bad.
And his wife is played by Gwyneth Paltrow, right?
Yes. Who was dating Brad Pitt at the time.
Oh, really?
Yes. And I think it's funny because...
She did a good job in this movie.
Really, if you like this video, go watch the video I talked about that guy did that I'm linking in the description. Because he talks about that, and Brad Pitt was dating Gwyneth Paltrow at the time, and they were trying to find someone to play his wife in the movie. So they did all these auditions and stuff, and Brad Pitt had brought up, hey, why don't we just get her to do it? And so they were like, yeah, she would be great, but she probably doesn't want to do it. So it kind of just got put like, they didn't even ask her. They were just kind of like, she probably is not going to do this movie because it's so dark.
Oh, yeah.
So they didn't ask her, and they did all these interviews, and they went up through all this, and then finally they brought her in for an interview. She nailed it, and they're like, do you want it? She's like, yes, I would love to have this part. And so they went through all this rigmarole to have all these people audition just to go with the person that was brought up originally. And, like, there were a lot of big names that were attached to this movie at different times. Like, Sylvester Stallone was offered the part of Mills that Brad Pitt played.
That wouldn't have worked. I don't think that would have worked very good.
And the guy who plays, I can't remember the guy's name, but the guy who plays the police commissioner in the movie, who played the drill sergeant from Full Metal Jacket,
Okay.
he actually originally auditioned for, like, Morgan Freeman's character. Oh, no, I'm wrong. He auditioned for John Doe, sorry.
Okay.
And they basically told it, the director, whoever, told him, like, I don't think you'd work out as John Doe, but if you want to, I need someone to play the police commissioner, and I think you'd be perfect for it. So that's what he ended up doing.
Huh. It's interesting. I don't think Stallone would have been a good fit for that character.
I don't think so either. I'm trying to remember. There was a bunch of other big names that were brought up and considered for different parts, and I can't think of any of them off the top of my head. But anyway, back to the actual movie.
Keep doing that. There's so much to talk about with this movie.
I know.
So then our next murder is lust.
And this is probably the one that sticks with me most. Because we don't even... The other two, we kind of see more of the aftermath of.
Yeah.
But this one, we don't really see the body or anything.
Which, thank God, we don't.
Yeah, we just see the scene, and then they interview a guy in the room in a room at the
precinct.
Yes, and you find out what happened was John Doe kidnapped this guy, and he had a custom like leather thing made. I mean, a strap on, essentially, but with a big knife. And then he forced this guy who they're interviewing to have sex with a prostitute.
Yeah.
And
then the knife kind of, to me, looked like... I went back to the thing that killed Steve Irwin, where it's like barbed, and so as you pull it out, it gets worse.
Yes.
That's where my mind went on that one.
And John Doe threatened his life to do it, so... I can't remember if it was the guy that I put his video in the description, or if it was someone else that was talking about it. But they were talking about, like, there's no right thing to do in that situation. Because either you are going to die, or you're going to do something so horrible that you have to live with for the rest of your life. Right. And we talked about those Criminal Minds episodes last week. And when he's in the room and he's like shaking and he's got like the blanket on him and stuff, and you can tell he's still kind of in shock of the whole thing. It reminded me of the girl from Mr. Scratch that didn't really want to talk.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. Yeah.
But yeah. So, do we find out what this guy, like, why he was chosen?
I don't know if we ever do.
I mean, maybe he just frequented that establishment.
That would be my guess, because it was lust, so it was probably somebody who went there a lot.
Yeah. But it also kind of reveals a little bit about John Doe that, like, this innocent woman was killed instead of this guy. And so, if you actually, like, again, I'm not a big fan of the graphic novel, but this kind of gives you an idea of how he feels about women, and is kind of explored more in the graphic novel, but he does not really see women as people. He sees them more as, like, objects. And you kind of get that later on with his speech at the end, too.
Yeah.
Where he kind of views women as, like, goals or, like, trophies. That's the word I'm looking for. Like, he sees them as objects, but he sees them as, like, something to... he doesn't see them as people, is the point of what I'm trying to say.
So, the last one, thankfully, is very... I don't want to say it's tastefully done, but
I would say that.
For what it is, it's tastefully done for a movie. Like, it's not graphic. It's not... I mean, you know in your mind what happened, but it's not very... You know, we're not seeing... It's not Saw level. Yeah. You know, we're not seeing that. So that's Lust.
Yes.
And then what's our last one?
Well, when does the photographer happen? Because I don't know exactly where that happens. Or when that happens. But I want to talk about it.
I want to say that was the guy... I think that was the guy that he starved.
Okay. So, they... while they're at whatever, the apartment building or whatever, and they're in there, there's a reporter that comes up and is taking pictures of them. And Brad Pitt's character, Mills, kind of freaks out on him and I think, like, shoves him to the ground, basically.
Well, he doesn't... I don't know if he shoves him to the ground, but he's pushing him back down the stairs.
Yeah.
And I don't think we ever really see the photographer. It's kind of more from his point of view.
Yeah. So I think you mostly see him from behind. But the photographer will come back later, and that's why I bring it up.
Yeah. But I'm pretty sure that was the guy that wasn't quite dead yet.
Yeah.
So then our last murder is... I just said it.
What? So the next one's Pride.
Yes. And so we have a beautiful girl who...
Is a model.
And our killer has cut off her nose. and left her in bed with a bottle of pills
Glued to her
hand and a mirror glued to the other hand.
Yeah.
So basically, she has the choice, or no, it's her cell phone.
Okay.
So she can either call 911 and get help,
Yeah.
or she can take the pills and kill herself. And she overdoses.
Yes.
And takes her own life.
So that's how they find her.
Yeah.
And so now we have 5 of the 7 deadly sins. Mm-hmm. And I do want to say the whole library thing, the way that they start to, or the way that they figure out what books to find is, Mills makes a comment about just because you read doesn't mean you're, or just because you have a library card doesn't mean you're Yoda.
Yeah.
And that's what leads to the idea that they can check library records to see who's checked out certain books.
Oh yeah, we haven't even talked about that part yet.
Yeah.
But before we get into all that, there is a scene where Brad Pitt's wife calls William and asks if he will meet her for lunch, I think.
Yeah.
And this is where we find out she's not happy there. She's a teacher. She can't find a job at a school that she thinks she'd be comfortable teaching at. And we find out she's pregnant.
Yeah. And so she's basically asking him what she thinks she should do. Like whether she should get an abortion or whether she should tell Mills that she's pregnant or what. And what's Morgan Freeman's character's name?
William.
He brings up that he got a girl pregnant. And
they were pretty serious, it sounded like.
Yeah. And did they have an abortion? Is that what it was? Or did they lose the baby? I think they had an abortion.
They had an abortion.
And he regretted it.
He convinced her to have an abortion.
Yeah, and he basically says he kind of implies he's regretted it since. Yeah. I don't think he necessarily flat out says that.
Yeah. So he tells her, if you decide to have the baby, go for it. If you decide not to have the baby, never let him know that you were pregnant.
Yeah.
Which I think is just heartbreaking.
Yeah. But it's crazy because this movie came out in 1995, and that's still like a relevant thing today.
Yeah. But I really like her character.
Yeah. So after this, they're at the police station, and I think they're kind of trying to figure out what they're going to do next when a bloody guy walks in. And he's got bandages over his fingertips. And he's got, like, blood on his shirt and stuff.
Yes.
And it's Kevin Spacey character, and he walks in there.
They're walking up the stairs, and he starts yelling detective, and they finally turn around. And
yeah. He's standing there all bloody.
And he's like, I believe you're looking for me.
Yeah. And I think he gets down on his knees and puts his hands behind his head without them even saying anything.
Well, Brad Pitt's screaming at him to do that.
Okay. So
which I thought on that scene was... Because Brad Pitt's like, faster, faster, and you never hear cops say that. They're always like, slow, nice and slow. And it's like I think they're at the police station.
Yes,
but
he walked into the precinct,
like a pretty big, like, 2-story building, and there's all kinds of people in there.
Yeah. And I think when the director was talking about when he decided he wanted to do this movie, I think it was him. It may have been... Anyway, he was reading through the script, and... he gets to this part, and there's still a bunch of pages left in the script, but here's a serial killer giving himself up.
That's the first thing I thought. I'm like, holy crap.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. We didn't talk about the whole scene of them going to his apartment.
Where the subway went by?
No. John Doe's apartment.
That hasn't happened yet.
Yes, it has.
Oh, it has?
Because there's the whole chase scene where he comes home and sees
you're
them
right,
and
yeah.
shoots at him.
Yeah.
So, before he shows up at the precinct... you were talking about the library card. They use the library system to figure out who is checking out all of these books. And it's like, I don't know if he checked it out, but I know they mentioned Mein Kampf was one of them.
Yeah.
Did I say that right?
Yeah.
And like you said, Paradise Lost and all of this stuff. And they actually pinpoint it to a guy named Jonathan Doe.
Yes.
And they're able to get his, which they themselves as police officers can't do it. They get I think he's an FBI guy involved.
And he's doing it illegally.
Right. So they actually go to John Doe's apartment.
Yes.
and they're knocking on the door, and he walks around the corner. So there's a huge...
And I think he's holding groceries,
Mm-hmm.
and he drops them.
And so there's a shootout and a chase all through town, and Brad Pitt's character actually ends up getting hurt.
Yeah, I think he, like, breaks his arm.
He doesn't... Does he get shot?
I don't think so.
But there's actually part of this scene where he's fallen on the ground and John Doe walks up and has his gun pointed at his head. And then Morgan Freeman shows up.
Yeah. And I think John Doe makes a comment something like, if I wanted you dead, you'd be dead already, or something like that. Like, a lot less cliche than I made it sound, though.
Right.
But
so then
I want to talk about the chase scene for a second, because the thing about this chase scene is that when they shot it, most of the time whenever they shoot a chase scene, you're usually behind the character, you're seeing what they're seeing ahead of them, they're running around the corner with confidence, they always know where the person they're chasing's at, and this is not like that. Like, it's close-up shots, it feels claustrophobic, every time he goes around the corner, you're anticipating something's going to happen, and, like, he runs through someone's apartment where there's people in there, and they point him in the right direction because he doesn't know where he went. Like, it feels like...
Yeah, and this is Mills, so...
Yes.
Mills is pretty much, like, following he's following John Doe, and then Morgan Freeman's kind of, not smarter, but, like, he's just taking the steps down. I mean, he's moving pretty quick, but he's not, like, jumping rooftops and stuff, like...
But that was something, I think it was something the director said, that he didn't want to shoot that like an action movie. He wanted you to be just as anxious as like an actual cop would be. And there's also an earlier scene in the movie where they're in a car, Mills at, what's his face? Somerset and Mills are in the car. And they're talking about drawing their guns. And Somerset says in like the 34 years he's been working there, he's only had to pull his gun 3 times and he's never shot it. And so this scene where Brad Pitt's running around with his gun out, really, like...
And he's shooting. He shot a couple times, too. And
this, like, it kind of... Having that scene earlier kind of tells you this is not, like, a normal day for them.
Yeah. And I think he does get shot. Because I think when John Doe drops his groceries, he shoots at him and then runs off. And I think
Does he get shot in the arm?
It's...
Because I thought he fell on his arm whenever he...
I thought it was like shoulder area, but maybe he didn't get shot.
I don't know. I thought he falls off the fire escape on his arm because he hits a car.
That makes more sense. I think you're right.
Because then he's wearing a sling for a lot of the movie.
Yeah.
And I think it was this movie. If I'm remembering right, Brad Pitt in real life had broken his arm. So if you actually look in certain scenes, you can kind of see where he's wearing a too baggy sleeve over his arm that has a cast on it and stuff. But, so they wrote that into the movie because he broke his arm. But, you know, they shoot movies out of order.
Yeah.
So when they went to shoot earlier scenes, like...
He didn't have a broken arm. Like it was healed.
Like, in real life it was still broken.
Oh, gotcha.
But, so they had to, like, put a sleeve over it and stuff.
Gotcha.
But I think they had shot some of the later scenes in the movie, too, so they had to go back and reshoot scenes with the, like, messed up arm. If I remember right. Anyway.
So then they go back to his apartment, and they have this whole argument because Mills wants to break the door down.
Yeah.
And Somerset's like, we can't do that. We can't do that. We don't have a reason to be here. He's like, I can't give away my FBI contact.
Yeah,
like, we can't explain how we got to his. So Brad Pitt just kicks the door in.
Yeah.
And this is where you were talking about the notebooks earlier.
Morgan Freeman is sitting through and reading through them.
Yeah, and this is when he says there's 2,000 of them, and it would take, I don't know how many men, like, it would take, I don't know, so many years for them to get through all of these notebooks, even with multiple people reading them. And there's something else I want to say about this scene. Oh, so then we see a scene where Mills... So before, when they went to the FBI guy, he asked Mills, he said, how much cash you got on you? And he takes all of his cash to pay this guy. Well, then at this scene, they're outside in an alley. Brad Pitt's character had said, how much cash do you have left? And you can tell he paid off this woman to say that they had seen John Doe acting suspicious in this neighborhood and stuff. And so it's just kind of funny that they both use that. How much cash you got on?
Yeah.
So now we'll go back to the precinct, and he's turned himself in.
So he turns himself in at the...
Yeah. Sorry, we kind of jumped around there for a minute, but I wanted to go back and get all that with his apartment in there.
But like I said, he's got bandages on his fingers. He's been cutting his fingertips off every morning. And I don't know if they say that in the movie. It's every morning.
Well, I don't know if they say every morning, but he cuts them off so he doesn't have fingerprints.
Yeah, but in the graphic novel, they say he does it every morning.
Wow. Don't you think that would, like, how would you function?
I don't know.
Because it's not like he's burning them off where they're going to get calluses over time. He's, like, they're bloody. Like, he's cutting them off. How would you be able... I don't know how you do much of anything with that.
I don't know. I mean, he's got the bandages on.
Well, that's true, but still, that just hurt. Well, I also work on a computer all day, so I don't think I could do that and cut my...
Yeah, I mean, but he's tortured people and stuff, so...
Yeah.
I guess most of the time, though, he's just holding a gun and telling them to do stuff.
Yeah, that's true.
Because, like, the lust murder and the... Yeah, pretty much all of them, because the pound of flesh thing, too, like, I think most of the time he's just standing there with a gun.
And the drug dealer, he's just tied to a bed, so he really wouldn't have to do much.
The only one I'm thinking of would be, like, Pride when he cuts her nose off, but if he drugged her to knock her out.
Yeah. So, they're interviewing him, and he says that, you know, basically, Morgan Freeman's like, there's 5. Where's the other 2? He said, I know people like... Basically, he says, I know people like you. You're not going to stop until they're all...
Yeah.
You know, you got through all 7. And, so he tells them he will show them where they are, but only Mills and Somerset can go.
Yeah.
So, I feel like I've talked a lot, so I'm going to let you talk for a minute.
You're going to let me talk about the ending?
Yeah.
This is like...
I know, I'll have some stuff to say too, but...
So, they get in their car and they're driving, and like I said, earlier I said most of the movie's raining. This is one of the few parts of the movie where it's not raining. And they drive out into the desert, and they drive into where there's all these, like, power lines. And the helicopter loses radio contact with them because of the power lines, which is a real thing.
So Mills and Somerset and John Doe are in the car, and they have a helicopter that's like a couple miles behind them just to stay in contact.
And while they're in the car, John Doe kind of gives a speech of, it doesn't matter who he is. He's nobody. It doesn't matter who he is. Pretty much his works will live on through him. Right. Like, through... Even after he's dead.
Right.
Or arrested or whatever. But, so he says he's going to lead him out there, so he takes him out to the desert, and then...
And him and Brad Pitt's character kind of fight, like... He doesn't really get angry, but Brad Pitt's character is kind of all up in his face. And
there's actually something that someone said about this scene. I can't remember if it was that same guy or if it was someone else, but they were talking about how the framing in the scene is really cool because when they're first talking in the car, and it keeps showing, like it keeps switching between Mills and John Doe. At first, when Mills is talking, it shows him from the side, and you just see him leaning into the back and talking. But then, when we see John Doe talking, we see him through the slats of the police car thing. But then, after John Doe kind of gets in Mills' head and Mills starts yelling at him, we see him through the bars.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're both trapped.
Oh. See, you dig into this so much, and I love it.
Well, I watch videos where people were talking about it and stuff, so I can't take full credit for all of it.
Well, but still, you took the time to watch them and stuff.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So, that kind of happens in the car, and they kind of yell at each other and stuff. And
so I want to talk about something.
When they get to the actual place, they all 3 get out.
I want to talk about something first. So they're in the car, and he says, or maybe it's after they get out of the car. The time is that afterwards?
I think it's after, but
okay. So they get out of the car. They walk a little distance away from the road, and John Doe says, "Well, what time is it?" And he says it's, I don't know, 5 minutes till 7 or 4 minutes till 7 or something. And he says it's almost time. Well, then we see dust and a van coming up the road.
Yeah, and they're being very cautious about this, and I think Mills runs over with his gun and tells the guy to stop and gets him out at gunpoint, basically.
Mills does not. Mills stays with John.
Yeah, you're right.
Somerset goes over.
Yes.
And Summer, he's like, "What are you doing here? Why are you here?" And the guy tells him,
He has a delivery.
"I was paid to be here at this time to deliver this box."
Yeah.
And so he gives the box, and he tells the guy, he's like, "Just go." And so the guy takes off running. He's in the middle of nowhere, and he just takes off running.
Yeah.
But then Somerset does tell the people in the helicopter, like, pick him up. But
Yeah.
I just thought that was kind of funny that he's just like, "Don't get back in your van and go. Just take off running down the road."
So then we get where Somerset looks in the box, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we don't see what's in the box.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we see some blood.
I don't think I did. But...
Okay, maybe we don't then.
But so Mills has his gun pointed at John Doe this whole time, and John Doe's talking, and so when Somerset opens the box, he tells Mills, he's like, "Put your gun down, he's got the upper hand, put your gun down."
Yeah.
And Mills won't listen.
Yeah. And I think Mills is, like, asking him what he did and stuff. And John Doe is saying, he says something about his, like, you think he says his wife's name, and then he goes, "I went to visit her to see what it was like to like, live a normal life, because I don't know what that's like." And basically he's like, "But she wouldn't let me." Yeah. And he kind of reveals that he's envy of the 7 deadly sins.
And somehow in here he reveals, so Somerset's running back across the desert toward them, and when he gets back there, John reveals to Mills that his wife was pregnant.
Yeah, was.
Yeah.
Because her head is in the box.
Yes. And he tells... I don't remember how he tells Mills that he killed her.
I don't know.
I don't remember what he says. But Somerset's trying to talk him down, like, don't do anything rash. Yeah. Don't.
And Mills shoots John Doe.
Yep.
So, Mills ends up getting arrested.
Yep.
And that's kind of how the movie ends.
That's how the movie ends. And I forgot, like, we had talked about, when we first talked about doing this movie, I'd seen it years ago, and the only part I really remembered was the gluttony guy, just because that scene stuck with me so, like, it's just so dark, and so, I just,
it's also the first one.
Yeah. And it probably, out of all of them, it's the most graphic that we see.
Yeah.
As far as, like...
Yeah.
Because, like,
we
like,
really see the body. And,
the greed one's pretty quick. The one where she gets her nose cut off is pretty quick. But I forgot how much I really liked this movie. Like, I don't do, like, crime thrillers are not top of my list, but I would say this is probably top 10 movies ever.
Yeah. And that's not an uncommon opinion. It's a pretty well-known movie.
Yeah.
And I do want to say, one thing I do like about the graphic novel that's not in the movie is that there's not just the head in the box, there's something else too. There's a little piece of wallpaper. No. That's the same wallpaper from the beginning of the deleted scene from the beginning of the movie. And so it's like he's always 20 steps ahead, like he knows people better than they think.
I think this scene here out in the desert when he's talking to Mills is probably or in the car is most where I see, in the car when they're having that whole conversation is most where I see the beast, not the beast, but...
Yeah. And when
I guess John Doe's really not in the movie all that much, other than that scene.
Spoilers for the Batman. Batman catches the Riddler, and when he catches the Riddler, it's a similar thing to what we're talking about here, where it's like, oh, I bet the movie's about over, and then there's still stuff after that. Well, basically what the Riddler tells Batman, and he's like, he's kind of like, it's not really like, he kind of says similar stuff where he's like, it doesn't really matter who I am under the mask or anything, like, what I've done is what I've done, and I've started a movement, basically.
Yeah.
But, so I said that John Doe is envy, and Mills is wrath.
Yes.
And I mentioned the photographer scene earlier. I don't know how they put together that he was a photographer. I don't know if he leaves pictures At a crime scene? Or...
Well, they find pictures at his house.
That's what it is.
But I think Mills saw his face, too. No. One of the pictures in his, what do you call it? Not red room. What do you call it where you develop pictures? Dark room. Is Mills on those stairs.
Yeah.
Coming after him.
Yeah. So they figure out that he's a photographer. Well, the thing is, if you actually, like, go back and you're watching this movie a second time, if you pay attention, a lot of people say this is where Mills sealed his fate. Because John Doe did not yet have a plan for who Wrath was going to be. And I almost wonder if he had Wrath saved for himself because he was killing all these people. Because he himself says, I'm a sinner too. And he happens to be Envy, but...
Which we learned when you talked about it earlier, but when he talks about going to his wife's, to Mills's house and spending time
to try to
with
live
his
a normal
wife,
life, yeah. And... what was I saying?
You didn't think that he knew who Wrath was going to be.
Yeah. And so in that moment where Mills reacted so violently and kind of like forced him back down the stairs and stuff, there's his Wrath. And that sealed his fate. And one thing that I think really, like, that I don't think we emphasized earlier when we were talking about it, but whenever Mills is standing there ready to shoot John Doe when they're... I almost said Joe. I'm so bad with names. When they're out in the desert, when John Doe says, about his wife being pregnant, and Mills still did not know his wife was pregnant. She never told him. And so that was the first time he was hearing about it, and it's after his wife was killed.
So, do you think that he had it in his mind that one of the two police officers would be Wrath?
I don't think he knew, like, at all.
You don't think he had any idea?
Not really.
So why do you think he was at the crime scene then?
Because I think he was trying to find his Wrath. And I don't know, like I said, he was murdering people. So, I mean, he's insane. There's no way to, like, really figure out what he was thinking. But in my head, I'm thinking, he's killing people. Maybe he's thinking of himself as Wrath, and he's looking for an Envy.
But see, I don't really see him thinking of himself as Wrath since he's the one giving out the punishments. Like, I kind of feel like he not necessarily sees himself as a god, but more like a disinterested party. Like, he's...
But he even says himself that he can sin, and he makes himself Envy.
Oh, that's true. I don't know if I would agree with it. He thinks he's Wrath. He may consider himself to be for the Wrath part.
I mean, originally, I don't mean...
Yeah, I know, but I'm not sure, but...
I don't know, he's crazy, who knows?
True. Well, not anymore. He pulled over in the desert.
Yeah. And... this movie is just something else.
It really is. That's how they figure out the lady with her nose. Because there's a picture of her, and it's got, like, he's drawn on on her picture when they find the dark room.
They find out what?
They're like, well, there's pictures of everybody else, but they don't know who she is because she hasn't been murdered yet. They haven't found her body, so that's how they start figuring out. That's how they get, because we couldn't remember how they got to her apartment. Yeah. That's how, is because
that makes
of
sense.
Pictures. So I want you to talk about the ending. Like, what you were talking about with people not wanting to sign on.
So, the guy who wrote this movie, this was the first movie he, as far as I know, it's the first movie he ever wrote. And it came across the director's desk. And the director read it, and he's like, this is amazing, I want to sign on for this. Well, what's that company? It's the one that's got, like, the reels overlapping as, like, their symbol. New Line Cinema. New Line Cinema had bought the rights to that movie, and they were looking for a director for it. So that came across his desk, and he reads through it, and I think that's where he was talking about the thing where he got to it where the serial killer gives himself up, and he's like, there's still pages left.
Yeah.
And then he gets to the end with the head in the box, and he's like, this is amazing. This is, I want this. I want to direct this. I want to be a part of this. Well, he contacts his agent and he's like, hey, I want to get on this right like as soon as possible. And the agent's like, well, actually, I contacted them and they gave you the wrong script. That's the original draft. The studio had him rewrite it. So there had been about 9 rewrites that the studio had made him do. And so the writer was talking about it, and like the new draft was something like the ending was like in a church and the church is on fire, and the wife leaves the city on a train, and so Mills and John Doe were having a face off in this burning church and stuff, and it's like a action movie ending. And the director's like, well, I don't want to do that. So he kind of tried to lobby the studio he's like, I'll direct it, but I want this original ending. And the studio's like, no, we're not doing that. We had him rewrite it for a reason. Well,
they thought the original ending was too violent?
Too dark, just in general, yeah. Because, I mean, you don't even see the head, so it's not really that violent. But people were, this was, I mean, it was after the Satanic Panic, but people were still like, oh, this movie's pretty much demonic and stuff. Like, that's how a lot of people reacted to it. So this director, David, I don't remember his last name. Fincher. He took it to Brad Pitt and said, hey, I think you would be good for this character, Mills. So he reads through the script and he goes, this is awesome. I want to be part of this. And he says, well, the only problem is the studio wants this ending instead of the box head ending. And he's like, I will not do this movie if it's not the box head ending, basically. So he starts lobbying the studio to do it. So they're trying to figure out someone to play Somerset. And they consider a bunch of different people, and different people try out and stuff. And eventually someone suggests, why don't we try to get Morgan Freeman? And they really do not think Morgan Freeman's going to do this. They think it's way too dark of a movie. They think he's going to turn it down. So someone gets a hold of Morgan Freeman, and they bring him the script, and he reads it, and he says, I want to be a part of this. And again, they're like, well, that's fine, but we just got to let you know, this is the original script. They made him rewrite it.
So they let everybody read the original script to get everybody on board.
So when you have all these people with the star power lobbying the studio to go back to the original ending, they originally got the original ending. And Brad Pitt was not like the star he is now at the time, but he had just started a movie alongside Tom Cruise, who was really big, and so he was kind of like, he had just come off of like 2 big blockbuster movies, and so he was like starting to become...
What was the one with Tom Cruise, do you know?
I don't know.
But you said that, so this would have been before Fight Club.
Yes.
Because he's in
Fight Club was 1999.
Okay, gotcha. So, I don't think...
But Brad Pitt was afraid of being typecast as a romantic lead, and so he really wanted to do this movie.
I don't think this movie would be what it is without the ending. And I know that's cliche to say that about a movie, but I just don't think... I don't think so either. I think it would have got lost in obscurity and not been, I mean, it's probably one of my favorite serial killer movies. Yeah.
Well, it had a the original budget was $31 million, but I think it got raised to $34 by the end of it. Or $33.
I don't know, is that good for back then?
Well, I was going to say, it made like $300 million in the box office. Like, it was a hit.
I just want to book a good one to see in theaters.
Well, and the thing is, the studio did not think it was like a broadly appeal. And New Line Cinema was new at the time. It was not a very old studio. And I do want to say, the library, the video I'm going to link talks about this, but the library the building that they use for the library in this is also the building they use as the bank in The Mask, which is also from New Line Cinema. But I guess they use that building a lot to the point that people joke that they should just buy the building.
I thought it reminded me of the library in City of Angels.
See, I haven't seen that.
I don't do romance, but that's a good one. So, overall, I give this 5 stars. I think this is a fantastic movie. I think
it's about as close as you can get to a perfect movie.
Well, and I also think that, like, when you think serial killer movies, you think Scream, and you think, Jason and Freddy and those kind of movies, which they are serial killers, but this one is just so different that we're not... we don't see the kills.
And it's grounded.
Right. We don't see the people getting murdered. Yeah. It's not like I mean, it's a whodunit, but it's done just such a different way to do it.
And that right there is my main issue with the graphic novel series. Is I really have two main issues with the graphic novel series. First of all, it shows a lot more of the gore stuff. And second of all, it gives you backstory on John Doe. And the whole point is John Doe isn't supposed to have a backstory because he
Right.
can be anybody.
Right. So,
He had
how big is the graphic novel series?
Oh, it was only like 8 comic issues or something, so not very long. But like you find out about John Doe's backstory, and he was abused by his mom, and at one point his mom was like super duper like Catholic and made him go to a Catholic school and stuff. But then as it got into like the 60s or whatever, she kind of became like a hippie, and like she was free love and all that, so she was sleeping with a lot of guys and stuff, and she wasn't very good to her son. Um and like just if I'm not getting mixed up with something else, he kind of had this crush on this girl, and his mom found out about it, and so he got a note left by the girl that was like, "Hey, I want to meet you behind the church and stuff." And I think this was still when he was in Catholic school and stuff. Well, when he goes there, he finds her raped and murdered. And they don't flat out say it anywhere, but it's heavily implied that the mom got her current boyfriend to do that.
Ew.
Because she thought it was like sinful for her son to have a crush on a girl.
But it's not sinful for her boyfriend to do that?
I don't know.
That's a little messed up.
But anyway, I don't think John Doe needs a backstory.
I don't either.
I think it needs to be less ambiguous.
I do too.
And
now,
I will say one thing that the graphic novel kind of does. I do like that swatch, like that wallpaper swatch, was in the box. I think that's a really cool thing to add.
Yeah.
But I do really like the pages from the journal that's in the graphic novel.
And they're actually readable in there?
Yeah. It's like, I mean, it's pretty tight script and stuff, but you can
Yeah.
read it. It reminds me of House of Leaves, where like in that sometimes it'll be like there's stuff written, but then there's like just a square in the middle that's like sideways that you have to read. Like it's that kind of stuff where it's just kind of.
I haven't tackled that book yet.
Yeah.
I have it. Right
I know,
there,
but
I haven't tackled it yet.
Oh, there's another thing I was gonna say. I did like. Oh, we do get a little bit more detail on the people he targeted and kind of why he targeted them. But a lot of it seems very shallow. Like when we learn about the lawyer, it's like, oh, he's a lawyer and he's corrupt, and that's it.
I mean,
Like, it doesn't really.
I kind of think they refer to that in the movie
Yeah,
because he's a defense attorney.
But like, the model, we find out she has a daughter, but she's very like dismissive of her daughter, and she's like doing a photo shoot, and her daughter starts crying, and she's like, "Can you get her out of here so we can get the shoot done?" Or something like that. I don't want to say that's 100% what happens, but it's something like that where she's not very good to her daughter and stuff, and she's more concerned about getting her picture taken.
I don't think we needed to know that though.
I don't think so either.
Because like,
I think we get enough.
Well, I just feel like, and I'm a Christian, but we all sin.
Yeah.
So we don't need the backstory on the guy that eats himself to death because that could be any of us. I mean, I'm overweight. Not that I would eat myself to death, but there's lust, and I mean, we've all been guilty of those types of sins before, and so we don't need to know, the model. Look at all the Instagram and internet stars and stuff like that now. We don't need to know their backstory. Like, not that I think they should have that happen to them, but you know what I mean? Like, it's just, it could be anyone.
Yeah.
So, I don't think we needed more of a backstory.
No.
And I don't think the movie would have flowed like it did if we'd known more.
I don't think the movie ever should have needed the backstories. I think the graphic novel / comics are ultimately harmless. I don't think they cause, like, I don't necessarily think they take away from the movie. But I also don't think of them as, like, canon in my head.
Gotcha. So you wouldn't recommend the comics?
If you want to read them, if you're okay with gore stuff, I mean, you can read them, but I do not think they're necessary at all, and in my head, they're a separate thing than, like, I separate them from the movie. Because I genuinely, I do not think John Doe needs a backstory.
Are they, do they have, like, the dark noir feel to them like the movie does?
one thing about them is that different artists worked on every single one. They got a different artist for every single issue. So sometimes
Gotcha.
there's one that I don't know if it's like watercolors or what kind of, but there's some art in it that I think is like absolutely gorgeous that I just absolutely adore. And then there's some where it's like when we talked about Trick or Treat,
Mm-hmm.
and we talked about the comics and how we like some of the styles and not the others. There's some that I feel like is not like, it's a little too comic booky to really feel like horror.
Gotcha. When he's talking about Trick or Treat, if you haven't watched that episode, we did the graphic novel for Trick or Treat.
Yes.
And the first half of it is the original Trick or Treat movie, and then they added more, the anthology, or the 25th anniversary, there's, I think, 4 or 5 more stories.
They kind of go into the backstory of Sam and how he got.
Yeah. And they're each done by a different person.
Yes.
So, kind of like that with the different art styles and stuff.
They're not each done by a different person, because some of them were done by, like, in Trick or Treat, right. Some of them were done by the same people, but yeah.
So, we highly recommend this movie.
Yes.
If you've made it to the end of the video, I hope that you've watched it before you got to the end of the video.
Yeah, this is one you definitely need to watch and not just hear people talk about.
Yeah. And it's very definitely, we've talked about movies before where you can just kind of put it on in the background and do your thing. Don't do that with this one.
No.
There's so many little nuances that you could miss.
Well, and I was going to say, this one I think grabs your attention too.
I do too.
And it's so atmospheric that you kind of just get absorbed into this world.
Yeah, and I feel like too, like, the characters are so likable, even though we've got gruff old Somerset and then Mills is just kind of goofy. And there's also some kind of I don't want to say lighthearted parts of the movie, but
I would say lighthearted parts.
Some parts that just kind of lighten the mood of the whole movie, just, and so I really like it. Like, my favorite scene that's not horror-ish or thriller-ish is when she calls and he's like, doesn't want to talk to him, he wants to talk to Somerset and invites him to dinner.
Well, there's a part where, like, Somerset and Mills are sitting on a couch at the precinct together waiting for something, and they both fall asleep. Yeah. And there's moments like that where it's just the characters feel so human.
They do. And it's not like, I'm impressed with the way they solve who John Doe is, but it's not like, okay, so they use the library. Today you could do that with somebody's internet searches.
Yeah.
Not... But I think it's cool that it's something you could actually do. Yeah. It's not just, oh my gosh, we figured out who this guy is.
The guy that did the video that I'm linking in the description, he made a joke that he called it, they find his Goodreads account. That was the joke he made.
I like that. That's funny.
I was going to say something. What was I going to say?
I'm not a mind reader yet, Bubba.
I know. It better come to me before we actually, finish up the video. Was there anything else you wanted to say?
No, I just really think this is a good movie. I think that everybody should watch this one.
What I was going to say. You have not seen or read Batman Year One.
No.
I don't know if that's what the...
Is that what you made me... You didn't make me watch that one, did you?
No, I don't think so. I can't remember if that's what the movie's called too, that they adapted it into or not, but... That series, it's basically about, Batman's first year as Batman. And it's the same year that Gordon moved to Gotham.
Okay.
And it feels very, very similar to this, where it's he moves there and he's he's going to change it and make it better, and then there's stuff like the bribery and stuff like that, where it's that's not how it works here. You have to get your hands a little bit dirty to... in Batman Year One, spoilers, but, some of the other cops beat the crap out of Gordon with baseball bats because he snitches on one of the other ones for doing something. And so he ends up getting revenge on that guy, and I think maybe gets blackmail on him or something.
Jeez.
But it's it's that kind of stuff. It's you're in a whole different ballpark now. And that's what Mills reminded me of, where he's kind of this starry-eyed
They don't ever come out and say where he came from, but I kind of get the feeling it's our small town in the middle of nowhere. Yeah. And he comes there and he tells Somerset that he came there because he's going to make a difference. And it's you can try.
And we use this term almost every single episode, but Somerset's kind of jaded with it, and he's just ready to retire, and even when the murder happens, he kind of tries to get the commissioner to push it off on someone else because he doesn't think he can solve it before he retires, and he doesn't.
He's only like 7 days out from retirement.
Yeah, and so this movie takes place in like a week.
Yeah,
like it's.
And it does tell you that, like it tells you what day we're on.
It's got like title cards. Oh, another thing I wanted to mention that I thought was cool.
Before you go into that, going back to what you were saying about him, there is a scene where he tells Mills that he wants to stay on until the case is solved. And Mills says something, and he's like, no. Summer says, no, you be doing me a favor by letting me stay on.
Yeah.
So I think that by that point, there's a little bit more, because there's really not any respect in between the two of them at the beginning, and I think that kind of shows that there's more, and that there's kind of, you know, Somerset thinks maybe Mills can do the job.
In this movie, we talk about all this happening in it and stuff. It's not like a super long movie.
It was 2 hours and 4 minutes, I think.
Yeah. So it's not like Robert Pattinson Batman movie is like at least 3 hours.
I'm sorry, but you're like Robert Butler. What?
I kept wanting to say Robert Pattinson.
Your just got me.
But I think that's like 3 hours. And so it's not like all this happens, and it's a very like tight script, and there's just so much detail in all of it.
And I just don't think there's anything that needed. I think the opening scene with the house you were talking about would have been cool, but I just don't think there's anything. There's no fluff to the movie.
No.
Like even the little humor parts we were talking about, like that's character building, and we've talked about this before.
It humanizes them so much.
Well, and we've talked about this before, where we don't want. I think we were talking about it last time we did a book, where we don't want 200 pages to introduce the character, and then 100 pages where things are actually happening. Like introduce us to them as you go, and this movie does such a perfect job of doing that.
Well, and even they humanize Mills a lot with him having the wife and stuff.
Yeah.
And then what really kind of helps humanize Somerset a lot is the scene where he's talking to Mills' wife. Mm-hmm. And
is her name Emily?
That sounds right. And he talks about like, oh, I was in love once and we almost had a kid. Like, this movie does a really good job of, in a short time, getting you to really care for these characters.
Very much so.
And again, I think this is the closest you can get to a perfect movie.
Yeah. And it seems kind of weird, because I was thinking this when she first called him. Like, it's kind of odd that she went to his partner who's twice their age.
But she doesn't know anyone.
Well, and that's what I was going to say. When they go to lunch, she tells him, she's like, I don't know anybody else here. Yeah. You've been here. You can tell me what the city's really like.
Yeah, and she's worried that it won't be good for the kid to grow up in the city.
Yeah.
It's another thing she kind of talks about.
In that apartment with the train.
Yeah. And one thing I did want to talk about, we're covering this on our horror podcast. Mm-hmm. If this did not have the head in the box scene, I don't know if I would have ever suggested we do it on the podcast, because I don't think it would have been pushed enough into horror, in my opinion. Even with the crime scenes and stuff, I don't...
We're kind of, though...
We talked about some thrillers and stuff,
thriller stuff too. I mean, we've done some comedy stuff, like thriller, comedy, horror, comedy stuff. So.
But do you know what I mean? I don't think without the head in the box scene, this movie would have been pushed that close to horror, even with the murders.
But the ending scene with Brad Pitt's emotion, he does just such a good job with that.
Well, in Morgan Freeman's reaction to seeing inside the box is so... Everyone in this movie just does such a good job as their characters. And, like, Kevin Spacey is, like, the perfect amount of, like... I don't know how to phrase it.
He's like he's what
coldly terrifying?
He's what I would picture like a sociopath being.
Yeah.
Like, just very... Yeah, coldly terrifying. That's a good way to describe him, because I don't think we ever see any emotion from him from the whole movie.
No, he kind of talks at the same level and pace.
Yeah.
No matter what's going on around him.
Yeah. So I think it's just an excellent movie, and other than my fun ones that we've talked about, like Final Girls and Day After Tomorrow, obviously, but of the more serious ones we've done, this would probably be the one I would recommend the most.
I can't believe you haven't seen The Batman.
I can't get pale face Robert Pattinson out of my head.
Edward.
Mm-hmm.
Well.
So next week is You Might Be a Killer.
You Might Be the Killer? Or is it a killer?
The Killer. I think.
Okay.
Which is a very cheesy, more funny horror
Comedy.
kind of, yeah. And then our book is Blackmouth by Ronald Malfi. And if you have not read anything by Ronald Malfi, this is my third book by him, I think. 2 novels and a short story collection by him. He is fantastic. And I told Dawson this, the book that we're doing, Blackmouth, is a combination of It, Something Wicked This Way Comes, and it kind of ties into The Tall Man and the Tall Man episode we did last week.
Of Criminal Minds.
So it's just, there's a lot to it, and it's a really good book. So check it out, and we will see you next week for You Might Be the Killer.
See you then.